If someone had told me I'd tame the Mafia Boss's Pitbull, his most feared, uncontrollable enforcer, I would have laughed straight in their face. I could barely tame my own breathing when the kitchen got too hot, or my shaking hands when a customer yelled. But tonight I learned a terrifying truth. I wasn't the one who tamed him. He chose me. And when the Pitbull of the Rossi crime family locked eyes with me across the dimly lit restaurant, blood on his knuckles, fury in every breath, he didn't behave the way he did for anyone else. He stilled. He listened. He obeyed. Then he whispered to his boss, deadly quiet, sharp as a blade, "I want her." Before we continue the story, please drop a comment telling me where you're watching this from. And don't forget to subscribe to Mara's Betrayal. I had no intention of being noticed. I was a waitress, invisible, exhausted, trying too hard to stay afloat. The Rossi restaurant didn't belong to the boss, not officially, but everyone in the city knew it was his territory. Whoever worked here did so under the silent agreement that if you minded your business, you stayed alive. I minded my business better than anyone. Until that night. The air was thick with tension long before he walked in. The kind that warns you something bad is coming. Something you can't see yet, but already feel in your bones. The chef kept snapping at the sous. Customers whispered too quietly. A drop of silverware made half the staff jump, and then the room went still. Completely still. He entered. Not the boss. Worse, his enforcer. His shadow. His pitbull. People called him Rafe. Rafe Pitbull Marino. A man born of brutality. A man with hands trained to break rather than touch. A man who answered only to the boss. And sometimes not even then. Everyone in the restaurant stepped aside. I tried to do the same. But fate is cruel. He stopped beside my table, the one I was setting for a late reservation, and I froze with a fork in my hand like a puppet whose strings had been cut. He didn't look at me at first. He looked at the chair, the tablecloth, the empty wine glass, evaluating, planning, and then he lifted his head, and our eyes met. I had seen dangerous people before. Men who wore violence like cologne. Men who thought intimidation was a sport. But Rafe was different. He didn't radiate danger. He radiated inevitability. His eyes were dark, unfathomable, unreadable, like a void disguised as a person. I should have looked away. I didn't. Something in me, something reckless or broken or both, held still. A mistake. Because Rafe noticed. His gaze sharpened, fixed on me, pinned me in place, and then, in a voice so low, I felt it more than heard it. "You're new." I swallowed. 3 weeks. He nodded, like that was information he needed. Like it mattered. I forced myself to breathe. "Do you need help finding your table?" His lips twitched, almost a smile, but too dangerous to be soft. "I don't sit without permission." I didn't understand. "From who?" I asked. His eyes flicked past me, toward the entrance. "From him." The door opened again, and the boss walked in. Luca Rossi, cold, controlled, beautiful in the way fire is, deadly if you get too close. Every step he took was measured, precise, as if he were walking on glass and daring it to break. The restaurant held its breath. He didn't look at anyone. Until he saw Rafe. Their eyes met. Something silent passed between them. Then Luca's gaze shifted. To me. It lasted less than a second. But it burned. Rafe stepped between us before I could process it, blocking my view of Luca with the broadness of his shoulders. "Look down," Rafe said quietly. "What?" "Look. down." My pulse spiked. I obeyed without thinking. Something about the way he said it. Soft, but carrying the weight of someone who'd burned whole cities for less. Left no room for argument. The boss approached us. I could feel the air change as he neared, thickening, tightening, bending. Rafe's posture straightened. Luca stopped beside him. His voice was silk over steel. "Rafe. Boss." A charged silence followed. I felt Luca's gaze on me even though I stared at the floor. "What's wrong with her?" Luca asked. Rafe's answer was immediate. "She stared too long." Luca's voice lowered. "And you?" I stared back. A pause, tense enough to draw blood. Then Luca spoke again. "Stand down." "No." The word wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. Every atom in the room stopped. Luca's tone chilled. "You're refusing me?" "For the moment." "Why?" Rafe's answer wasn't a threat. It was a confession. "Because if she moves, I'll track her." My blood ran cold. Luca exhaled through his nose, the sound controlled but edged. "Rafe," he said, "you don't track waitresses." "I know." "You don't want waitresses." "I know." "So why her?" Rafe finally turned his head enough that I could see his expression. It wasn't lust. It wasn't rage. It was something far worse. Recognition. "She did something," he said. I shook my head instantly. I didn't... Luca cut me off with a quiet, dangerous, "Speak." My mouth dried. "I didn't do anything," I whispered. Rafe's eyes narrowed. "Yes? You did?" My voice trembled. "What?" "You held my gaze," he said. That's not anything." "It is to me." Luca's eyes burned into the side of Rafe's face. "Explain." Rafe lifted his chin slightly, exposing the small scar under it. Not accidental, not fresh. A scar with a story. "When someone looks at me," he said, "they react." Luca waited. "They fear me. They challenge me. They move away." He stared directly at me now. "But she didn't." My heart slammed. "I wasn't trying to provoke you," I whispered. "I just froze." Rafe's jaw ticked. "Exactly." Luca's voice dropped. "Rafe, you're unstable tonight." "I know." "And you're already on edge." "I know." "And you think a waitress is the reason you stopped?" "I don't think." He pointed to his temple. "I know." Luca exhaled, not in annoyance, in calculation. "Go to the back," Luca ordered. "Calm yourself." Rafe didn't move. Instead, he stared at me with a terrifying intensity. "I want her." I choked on a breath. Luca's tone iced. "She's not yours." "She could be." "She isn't." Rafe smiled, not friendly, not sane. "You think you're the only one who sees patterns," he murmured. "But I saw something tonight. For the first time in a long time." Luca stepped closer, danger radiating from him like heat from a fire. "You don't get to choose people, Rafe." "I'm not choosing," Rafe said softly. "I'm recognizing." Luca grabbed Rafe by the front of his shirt, pulling him inches from his face. "You're losing control," Luca whispered. Rafe didn't blink. "Maybe. If you embarrass me in front of my own men, I won't. I'll put you down myself." Rafe finally smiled. "You could try." I didn't breathe. No one did. Then, without warning, Rafe turned his head toward me again. "Tell me something," he said. My throat closed. "What?" "Your name." I shouldn't have answered. I knew that. But something in his gaze, dark and waiting, drew the truth out of me like a confession. "Mara." Luca froze. Rafe didn't. He whispered the name like a dangerous discovery. "Mara." Silence shattered. Rafe stepped toward me instantly, but Luca threw an arm out, blocking him. "Enough," Luca said sharply. Rafe didn't look away from me. She flinched, Luca's eyes sliced toward me. Why? He wasn't asking out of concern. He was trying to understand the shift in the room. My voice shook. I didn't... She did, Rafe said. Not when I spoke, when I said her name. My spine went rigid. He noticed everything. Luca studied me as if I were a weapon someone had placed in the wrong hands. What? He said quietly. Did you remember when he said your name? Nothing. Everything. A flash. A hallway. A voice I'd spent years trying to forget. But I couldn't say that. I couldn't say anything. Rafe stepped closer again, slowly, like approaching a wounded animal. Mara, he said softly, did you know your pupils dilate when you're afraid? I backed up one step. He followed. Luca snapped. Rafe, stop! Rafe didn't. He kept walking toward me, and Luca moved faster. He grabbed Rafe and slammed him back against the nearest wall, forearm digging across Rafe's chest. Stand, down! Rafe didn't fight. He grinned. You're scared, Rafe whispered. Of what? Luca growled. Of what I'll find out about her. Luca's expression froze. Rafe's smile widened. You feel it too, he said. There's something wrong with her. His attention slid to me again. My heart pounded so loudly I felt it in my fingertips. Something, Rafe murmured. You don't want to remember. My breath hitched. I hadn't told anyone that. Not even myself. Luca didn't release him, but his voice changed, lower, darker. Rafe, Luca said, you don't touch her. I won't. You don't talk to her. I just did. You don't go near her. Rafe smirked. Tell him, boss. Tell him what you're really afraid of. Luca's grip tightened. What? I whispered. Is he afraid of? Both men turned to me, and Rafe answered first. That you're the one thing in this city no one can predict. A chill shot through me. Luca exhaled once. He let go of Rafe. Not gently. Not violently. Controlled. Rafe straightened, rolling his shoulders as if nothing had happened. Then he said the sentence that froze the blood in my veins. Mara tamed me. Luca stiffened. No, Luca said. She didn't. Rafe smiled. She did something to me, and I'm going to find out what. My knees weakened. I grabbed the table for balance. Luca stepped toward me slowly, expression unreadable. Mara, he said quietly, listen to me. I swallowed. Yes? He looked at me the way a man looks at a storm he knows is coming. You need to leave this restaurant. My stomach dropped. Am I fired? No, he said. You're in danger. Rafe added, from yourself. Luca cut him a glare, then looked at me again. You're going home, Luca said. Now. Rafe's voice slid through the air like a knife. I'll walk her. No, Luca said. Rafe smiled. Try stopping me. Luca's jaw flexed. Mara, he said. Leave. Now. Rafe took a step forward. I'm going with her. Luca grabbed him again, this time not holding him back, holding him in place. Rafe stared at him. Luca stared back. Something broke between them. Something sharp. Something permanent. Then Luca whispered the sentence that made Rafe's expression finally crack. You can't have her. Rafe's eyes darkened, dangerously, almost unhinged, and he whispered back, Watch me. My heart slammed. The restaurant lights flickered. Someone dropped a glass. I stepped back, and they both turned toward me at the same time. Rafe hungry, Luca warning. Mara, Luca said, don't move. Mara, Rafe said, come here. I froze, paralyzed between two deadly forces. One I feared more. Then a cold wind blew through the restaurant. The front door creaked open without anyone touching it. A shadow stepped in, tall, silent, unfamiliar. But Rafe's reaction, That was what terrified me most. His face went cold. Still. Deadly. He whispered one word. Him. And Luca whispered, "No, not here." I didn't know who the man was, but he looked straight at me and smiled. The stranger's smile wasn't warm. It wasn't polite. It wasn't even interested. It was recognition, like he already knew exactly who I was. And worse, what I would become the moment he stepped through the door. Rafe moved first. Not toward me, toward him. His entire posture changed, shoulders stiff, head lowered, breathing sharp. Not fear, instinct. An animal bristling at the presence of another predator. Luca stepped between them instantly, a single raised hand stopping Rafe like a collar yanked tight. "Stand down," Luca warned. "No," Rafe growled. "Rafe!" "You don't understand," Rafe said, voice low and primal. "He's not supposed to be here." The stranger chuckled softly. "Relax, Pitbull. I'm not here for you." The room went still. Completely still. No one in the restaurant breathed. I didn't either. Because the man at the door, this tall, elegant danger with eyes like black frost, looked at me the same way Rafe had looked earlier. With interest. With purpose. With a knowledge I didn't have. "Come," he murmured. My pulse crashed. Rafe nearly lunged. Luca caught him with both hands. "Rafe, control yourself." "He said, 'Come,'" Rafe snarled, shaking against Luca's grip. "He doesn't get to say that to her." I backed up until my legs hit a chair. The stranger kept walking. Slow, calm, silent. Every step echoed through my ribs. I whispered, "Who are you?" He smiled wider. "You don't remember me." I froze. Luca's head whipped toward me. "What?" Luca demanded. "Mara, do you know him?" "No," I said instantly. "I've never seen him." The stranger tisked softly. "That's disappointing." "Boss," Rafe hissed. "Move. Move now." Luca didn't move. He stared at the stranger with a tension I had never seen in him before. A hint of recognition, a hint of respect, and a dangerous hint of fear. "Dante," Luca said finally. The name dropped like a blade between them. Dante. The stranger. He bowed his head politely, as if greeting Luca in a ballroom rather than a crime family's restaurant. "Good evening, Rossi." Rafe nearly broke free. "Boss, let me. No." Luca's command rang through Rafe's body like steel. Rafe gritted his teeth. Dante stepped closer, now only 10 feet away. "Mara?" Luca said quietly without turning. "Go to the kitchen." I tried to move. I really did. But Dante's eyes held me where I stood. The weight of them. The wrongness of them. The familiarity. "Mara," Luca said sharply. "Move." I opened my mouth to speak, but Dante spoke first. "She stays." Those 2 words made the lights flicker again. A glass on a nearby table slid, moved 2 inches, then stilled. The air thickened. And suddenly, Rafe broke free. He lunged at Dante, not with human rage, but with feral force. "No!" Luca cursed under his breath and reached to grab him. But Rafe was already moving. Fast. Too fast. Dante didn't flinch. He didn't step back. He didn't even raise a hand. He simply watched Rafe barrel toward him like a predator unimpressed with another animal's charge. Rafe swung. A brutal, bone-snapping strike that could shatter a concrete wall. Dante caught it with 2 fingers. 2. My knees buckled. Rafe froze mid-swing, arm trembling. His wrist caught between Dante's thumb and forefinger. He snarled, teeth bared. "Let me go." Dante didn't. "They really let you off your leash, Pitbull," Dante murmured. "How reckless." Rafe tried to pull back. He couldn't. Dante tightened his fingers slightly. Just slightly. Rafe dropped to one knee with a sound that wasn't pain. It was humiliation. "Enough!" Luca snapped. Dante released him. Rafe stumbled back, chest heaving, eyes murderous. He looked like he wanted to tear Dante apart with his teeth. Dante turned to Luca. "I didn't come to fight." "Then leave," Luca said. "You're not welcome here." "I'm not here for you." Dante's eyes found me again. Dead center, pinning me like an insect under glass. "I'm here for her." Rafe growled low, an animal about to snap its chain. "She's not yours." "No," Dante said softly. "She's not." He took another step toward me. "But she will be." My lungs seized. Rafe roared. This time Luca didn't stop him. Rafe launched at Dante again, faster, darker, more violent. Dante didn't block, didn't punch, didn't hurt him. He simply stepped aside. And Rafe missed, slamming into a table and shattering it with his weight. I gasped. Before I could blink, Dante was standing in front of me. Close. Too close. Close enough that I felt the warmth of his breath against my cheek. "Hello, Mara," he whispered. "I don't know you," I choked out. "Not anymore." A cold wave rippled down my spine. "What does that mean?" He touched my wrist. Lightly. Barely. Yet the moment his skin brushed mine, a memory surged in the back of my skull. A hallway. A hand. A whisper. My name spoken like a vow. I gasped and jerked back. What was that?" Dante smiled. "Recognition." "No," I whispered. "I don't remember anything." "You're not supposed to," Dante said softly. Luca grabbed Dante by the collar and slammed him back against the bar. "Stay away from her." Dante didn't resist. Didn't blink. He just smiled. "You're trembling, Rossi." Luca froze. Dante leaned closer, voice low. "You never tremble." The whole room felt like it was vibrating. Rafe rose from the shattered table, breathing hard. "Boss, let me kill him." "You can't," Dante said without looking at him. Rafe lunged again, but Dante's hand shot out, palm open, stopping Rafe mid-motion without touching him. Rafe choked on his breath. The air around him shimmered. Not visibly, not magically, just wrong. Like the space itself thickened around his body. Rafe dropped to his knees, gasping. "Dante, stop!" Luca snapped. Dante lowered his hand. Rafe collapsed onto his palms, breathing ragged. I covered my mouth. "What are you?" I whispered. Dante finally looked at me again. "Someone you once trusted more than your own heartbeat." Luca swore under his breath. "Mara, get behind me!" I didn't move, because I couldn't. Because Dante stepped toward me, slow and calm, and Rafe, still gasping, forced out, "He's not here for you, boss." His head lifted, eyes wild. "He's here for her." Luca grabbed my arm and yanked me behind him, shielding me. "Dante!" Luca growled. "Leave! Now!" Dante tilted his head. "Do you really want me to go?" "Yes," Dante smiled. "Then she comes with me." The room snapped. Chairs shook. Cutlery rattled. The air itself trembled. "Over my dead body," Luca hissed. "That was my plan," Dante said softly. I trembled. "Why me?" I whispered. Why do you want me?" Dante's eyes softened into something dangerous. "Mara," he breathed, "you tamed the Pitbull because you were always meant for the wolf." My heart stuttered painfully. Luca pulled me closer. Rafe struggled to stand. Dante lifted his hand slowly and pointed directly at me. "You belong to me." "No," Luca snarled. "No," Rafe growled. "And me." I couldn't speak, because suddenly, somewhere buried deep in a place I didn't know existed, I felt something respond to Dante's words. Something old. Something terrifying. Something mine. The lights crashed above us, and everything went dark. If you're still watching the story till now, drop a comment so I know you're with me. When the lights went out, the darkness felt alive, thick, heavy, watching. I heard nothing at first, no footsteps, no breathing, just the ringing silence of a room holding its fear like a lungful of poisoned air. Then, a whisper. Not from Dante, not from Rafe, not from Luca, from somewhere inside me. Run. My pulse jolted. My feet didn't move. A hand brushed my arm, strong, steady, human. Luca's. Mara, he murmured, his voice low, controlled, threaded with urgency. Don't move. I tried to speak. What happened to the lights? They didn't go out, Luca said. They were taken. Taken. The darkness around us thickened at that word, like it understood it was being discussed. Then a sudden crash cut through the room, wood splintering, chairs scattering, Rafe's snarl echoing somewhere too close in the dark. Luca's grip tightened. Stay behind me, he commanded. I tried to obey, but the room was spinning, shrinking, vibrating with something I couldn't name. A second crash, louder than the first. Something slammed into a wall, then a violent grunt, then silence. Rafe, Luca barked. No answer. My heart leapt painfully. Is he? Don't talk, Luca said. He tugged me backward, step by careful step, toward where he thought the kitchen was. But in the dark, even Luca Rossi couldn't navigate perfectly. Then, a voice floated through the air, soft, silken, amused. You shouldn't have grabbed her, Luca. My stomach twisted. Dante. He was close, too close. His voice curved around my name the way smoke curls around a candle flame. I tried to see him, but the darkness was total. Thick, like ink. Absolute. I whispered, Luca, I can't see anything. He stepped in front of me again, shielding my body with his. You won't touch her, Luca said. Dante laughed. You think you can stop me? I've done it before. The darkness shifted. I couldn't tell if Dante moved or the shadows themselves leaned in. Not tonight, Dante said. Tonight I came for her. A cold breath slid behind my ear. I spun. No one was there. But I felt him. His presence pressed against my spine, his breath circling the edge of my awareness. If I reached out, I feared my fingers would graze something not quite solid. Mara, Dante whispered behind me. Do you remember what you once told me in the dark? I trembled. I don't know you. Liar. The word cut through the room like a blade. Luca moved, fast, shoving me behind the bar counter. His hands pressed my shoulders down. Stay, he growled. He stood again, weapon drawn, a gun he kept holstered under his jacket. I hadn't even seen him pull it out. You think I'll let you walk out of here with her? Luca said. I don't need you to let me, Dante replied. Then you won't take her. Luca, Dante sighed, disappointed. Stop pretending. You're in control. A flicker of light burst above us. Just a spark, the barest flick, then vanished again. But in that split second I saw them. Rafe, pinned against the far wall, chest heaving, eyes wide with fury. Dante, standing halfway across the room. But the shadows behind him stretched toward me like he had a leash on the darkness itself. Luca, between them, gun raised, finger steady on the trigger. And me, hiding behind the bar like a child who wandered into a storm she didn't understand. The light died. Darkness crashed back. My breath trembled. Dante's whisper slithered through the black again. Tell him, Mara. Tell him what? Luca demanded. The truth. I don't have a truth, I whispered. You do, Dante said. You buried it. My pulse pounded. He kept speaking. Let me remind you. Something brushed my ankle. I jerked violently, hitting my elbow on the bar. Luca's hand shot down, gripping my wrist. Don't move. But something else was touching me. Not skin, not fabric. Something colder, smoother, like liquid shadow. I gasped, scrambling away, and light exploded overhead. Not fully. Just enough for shapes to form. Just enough for Dante's face to appear in front of me, inches from mine. My scream ripped through the air, but Dante covered my mouth gently. Not forceful. Worse. Tender. Mara, he whispered, stop lying to yourself. His hand was warm. Too warm. Real. Luca roared from behind us. Get away from her! Dante didn't look back. He held my jaw softly, guiding my eyes to his. Tell me, Dante murmured, why do you fear the dark so much? A memory burst behind my eyes. A locked room. A broken light bulb. Breathing in the dark. My own hands shaking. A man whispering my name. Little Wolf! I shoved Dante away with every ounce of strength I had. I don't know you! Luca grabbed me immediately, pulling me behind him. Rafe tore himself out of the wall he'd been thrown against, chest heaving, eyes savage. Dante smirked. You do? I don't! I screamed. But the way Dante's smile shifted told me something was unraveling inside me. He lifted his fingers and tapped the side of his head lightly. You forgot me on purpose. No, I whispered. Tell me, Dante said softly. Do you remember the night you begged someone to turn off the lights because you were afraid of what you'd see if they stayed on? My breath choked. Luca turned to me sharply. What's he talking about? I don't... Dante took another step. Luca aimed the gun. Move again, Luca warned, and you'll find out the limits of my mercy. Dante laughed once. My mercy is older than yours, Rossi. Rafe snapped. Boss, we need to end this. No, Dante said calmly. I'm not here to fight. He looked at me. Only me. I'm here to take back what was stolen. What was stolen? I whispered. You. Luca stepped in front of me. She's mine. That sentence shattered something deep inside me. I didn't know what. But Dante smiled, slow and victorious. There it is, he said softly. Your fear. My fear? Luca demanded. No, Dante murmured. Hers. He leaned his head just slightly to see me around Luca's shoulder. You chose him, Dante said. Of all people. Him. Rafe snarled. She didn't choose anyone. Dante's eyes hardened. You don't know her. Either of you. We know enough, Luca said. No, Dante whispered. You know the surface. You've never seen the part she hides. My hands shook. What part? I whispered. Dante's smile froze. The part of you that belonged to me. The lights flickered again, bright enough to show his eyes. Black. Not the color. The abyss. Something in my chest tightened painfully. I doubled over. Luca grabbed me. Mara! Rafe moved fast, catching my other arm. My vision blurred. My head hurt. Sharp, stabbing memories ripping through me like shrapnel. A voice. A touch. A promise. A knife. A warm hand covering my eyes. A sentence whispered in the dark. Forget me. My knees buckled. Dante's voice slid into my skull. Remember. No, I cried out. Luca turned instantly, his voice harsh. Stop touching her mind, Rafe snapped. Boss, if he takes one more step, I know. Dante's eyes softened again. I'm not hurting her. Rafe laughed, breathless and furious. You? Not hurting? Since when? Since she became mine, Dante said. I'm not yours, I shouted. Silence. Then Dante stepped closer. Then tell me why your heartbeat recognizes me. I froze. Luca's grip tightened. Rafe's breath caught. Even Dante paused, like he knew he'd just pierced through something I didn't realize I was hiding. He spoke again, softer. "Your body remembers me," he whispered, "even if your mind doesn't." Everything inside me trembled. Why don't I remember?" I asked. Dante tilted his head. "You do." "No." "You do," he repeated. "You just refuse to look." My voice broke. "Look at what?" Dante smiled, a small, devastating curve of his lips. "The truth," Rafe snapped. "Stop talking in riddles." Luca lifted the gun again. "Dante, if you don't leave right now." Dante interrupted him with one soft sentence. "Ask her what she dreams about." My breath froze, because he was right. There were dreams, nightmares, hallways, someone whispering my name, a hand guiding mine, someone saying they'd protect me. Even if I forgot. I whispered, "No." Dante took a final step. Rafe grabbed him by the throat. The room shook. Shadows writhed. The air thickened. Dante didn't lift a hand. He simply whispered, "Let go!" Rafe's palm blistered with cold. He shrieked, an animal sound, and released Dante instantly. Luca fired. The gunshot cracked through the restaurant like a scream. The bullet never reached Dante. It stopped midair, hovering an inch from his cheek. Dante plucked it from the air like removing lint from a suit sleeve. Then he looked at Luca and smiled. "Cute." Luca took a step in front of me, shielding me with his entire body. Rafe limped to my other side, a barrier, a wall of violence. Dante watched the three of us. Then he said with a softness that shattered me, "Mara, you can run from me, but not forever." He turned toward the door. Before leaving, he said one final truth, one that hollowed out my ribs. "You tamed the Pitbull by accident." He met my eyes, "But you created me on purpose." The door slammed behind him. Silence fell, a silence so heavy I couldn't breathe. Rafe collapsed to one knee, clutching his burned hand. Luca turned to me, eyes fierce, jaw clenched. "Mara," he said, voice low and final, "you're not going home tonight." I stepped back. "What? Why?" "Because Dante claimed you." Rafe lifted his head. "And Dante," he whispered, "never stops when he wants something." Luca took my face in his hands, forcing me to meet his eyes. "Mara," he said. Dante wasn't lying. My breath shook. "About what?" Luca held my gaze, cold and unflinching. "You knew him once." "No." "You loved him." "No, no." "And whatever you forgot," Rafe finished quietly, "is coming back for you." I didn't run. Not because I trusted Luca. Not because I believed Rafe. I didn't run because my legs wouldn't move. My bones felt hollow. My blood felt wrong. My mind felt like a locked room someone was prying open from the inside. "I don't remember him," I whispered. "I don't remember anything. I'm not connected to that man." Luca didn't blink. "That's the problem." Rafe stood shakily, his burned hand trembling at his side. "Memories don't disappear unless someone takes them." My stomach flipped. "You think he took them from me?" Luca shook his head. "Dante doesn't erase. He just forces people to forget." "That doesn't make sense," I whispered. "How can he?" "He has ways," Rafe muttered. "No," Luca cut in sharply. "He has history." His eyes locked on mine. "And you're part of it." I shook my head again and again, trying to tear through the fog inside me, trying to find even one scrap of memory. One moment, one face, one hint. Nothing. Only the nightmares. Only the shadows. Only the feeling that someone had once touched my mind with cold fingers and whispered, "Forget." My voice cracked. Luca, what did he mean when he said I created him? Rafe exhaled sharply through his teeth. Because you did. I staggered back. You're both insane. No, Rafe said, eyes sharp. We're the only sane ones in this room. Luca lifted his chin, assessing me like I was a weapon he didn't know how to wield. Sit down, he said. No. Mara. His voice dropped, a command, not a request. Sit. My knees wobbled. I sank into the nearest chair because my body obeyed before my mind could object. Luca lowered himself across from me, elbows on his knees, staring like I was a puzzle with one missing piece, and he already knew Dante was holding it. Rafe paced behind Luca like a caged animal, wounded but furious. Start talking, Rafe snapped. Rafe! Luca's tone was a warning. She needs to know, Rafe said, before it's too late. Luca turned back to me. Mara, he said carefully, how old were you when your nightmares started? Cold, wet, suffocating fear. A room with no light, no windows, no time. I don't have nightmares, I lied. Rafe slammed his fist into a wall hard enough to crack the plaster. Don't lie, he growled. You think we didn't see your reaction when he touched your wrist? You think we didn't see the recognition in your face? I didn't recognize him, I yelled. Yes, you did, Rafe snapped. Your body did. He leaned over the counter, eyes wild. You flinched before his fingers touched you. That's not fear of a stranger. That's memory. No, I whispered. No, Luca's voice cut sharply across mine. Why do you think the dark scares you? A shiver ran down my spine. I'm not scared of the dark. Then why did you scream when the lights went out? He asked softly. I stared at my shaking hands. Rafe stopped pacing and turned. Mara, he said, tell the truth. I squeezed my eyes shut. The truth clawed its way up from a place I never admitted existed. I wasn't afraid of being in the dark, I whispered. I was afraid of what I'd remember in it. Silence. Then Luca exhaled slowly. There it is, Rafe muttered. Finally. I shook my head, panic rising in my throat like bile. But I still don't remember him. No, Luca said. You don't remember who you were with him. My voice fell apart. Who was I? Rafe answered first. You were someone dangerous. I shook my head violently. That's not possible. Luca studied me. It wasn't physical, he said. You weren't violent. You weren't trained. You weren't part of any family. Then how? You were important to him, Luca said flatly. Rafe's lip curled. And that's worse. I forced myself to breathe. If I was important to him, why did he erase my memory? Luca tapped his thumb lightly against his knee. A small movement, but telling. He didn't erase your memory. What? You erased his. My breath ripped out of me. That's impossible. Luca shook his head slowly. No, not impossible. Rafe leaned against the wall, eyes locked on mine. You begged him to do it, he said. No, I whispered. No, I wouldn't. You begged him, Rafe repeated, jaw tight, because you saw him do something that broke you. What? I hissed. What did I see? Luca and Rafe exchanged a look that said they weren't sure if telling me would destroy me faster or save me. Finally, Luca spoke. You saw him kill someone. I swallowed. I've seen people die before. Not like this, Rafe whispered. Not the way Dante kills. A shudder rolled through me. What do you mean? Rafe didn't answer. Luca did. Dante doesn't kill to end life, he said. He kills to make a point. I felt sick. Luca sighed and leaned back. You need to understand something before this goes further. Rafe spat. Tell her. Luca nodded and faced me. Dante isn't just a man, Mara. He's a myth, a ghost, a curse in a suit. Rafe crossed his arms. He's the kind of nightmare gangsters tell their kids about, so they sleep with a knife under the bed. My mouth went dry. What does that have to do with me? Luca's voice softened, barely. You were the only person he ever listened to. I can't believe this. You tamed him, Rafe said through gritted teeth. That's why I snapped tonight, because I felt it too. Whatever you are, whatever you did, men like me and him react to you. No, I whispered. No, this is wrong. Luca ignored me. Dante wasn't always like this, Luca continued. Once, a long time ago, he was almost human. Rafe let out a bitter laugh. Barely. And then he met you. That sentence didn't make sense. It didn't sound real. It didn't fit inside my skull. You're lying, I whispered. Luca shook his head. No. But I would remember. You were a different person then, Rafe said. I'm the same person. Luca stared at me for a long moment before asking, Mara, how much of your childhood do you remember? My heart stilled. What? That's a simple question. No, it wasn't. Because suddenly, I couldn't answer it. I reached for memories. They slipped through my fingers like water. I felt dizzy. I remember some things. What things? Rafe pressed. My mother, I said. My old house. What about the years before that? Luca asked. A cold pit formed in my stomach. I don't let myself think about, because there's nothing there, Luca finished. I shook my head violently. Stop! Stop! Rafe stepped closer, eyes burning. Mara? He said. How many years are missing? No. How many? I pressed my hands to my skull, trying to squeeze out the pressure building inside. I don't know. Rafe's expression darkened. Luca, tell her. Luca inhaled deeply, then exhaled like the words were knives. You were missing for 3 years. My body froze. What? 3 years, Luca repeated. Gone. Vanished. No records. No family reporting you missing. No one looking. No, that's not real. You returned with no memory, Luca continued, and no last name. I have a last name. Of your choosing, Luca said. My vision blurred. Rafe added, his voice low. 3 years. And the only person who knew where you were was Dante. Air wouldn't enter my lungs. I clawed at my throat. Luca slipped his hands around my wrists, grounding me, forcing me to breathe. Mara, he said sharply, listen. No. You need to hear this. No. You were his, Luca said. His obsession. His shadow. His... Stop. My voice broke. He didn't break you, Rafe murmured. He built you. No. And then you begged him to make you forget. My tears fell silently, hitting my palms like small drops of truth I didn't want. Luca's voice softened. That's why he's back, he said. Because he wants you to remember. Rafe finished the sentence. And he'll kill anyone who stands in his way. A knock shattered the silence. 3 soft taps on the restaurant's front door. Rafe stiffened. Luca stood instantly. My pulse stopped. The lights flickered once, twice. The door handle turned. Luca stepped in front of me. Rafe positioned himself to the side, his good hand going to the knife strapped at his back. The door creaked open. Wind swept in, and a single object slid across the floor, stopping at Luca's feet. A photograph. He picked it up slowly, turned it over. His eyes widened. What is it? I whispered. Luca handed me the photo. My blood iced. It was me. But not today. Not this year. Not this version of me. A younger me. A different me. standing in a dark hallway, and behind me, in the shadows, a hand rested on my shoulder. A hand wearing a ring with the symbol of a wolf. Not a Pitbull, not a Mafia family, something older. Above the photo, in looping black ink, someone had written, "Little wolf, I'm coming to bring you home." My breath shattered. Luca grabbed me, steadying me as the room tilted. Rafe leaned in, whispering, "He found you." And then we heard a voice, coming from the doorway, soft, smiling. "Dante." "My little wolf," he said. "Did you miss me?" I had always thought fear was a cold thing, something that froze you, locked you in place. But when I heard his voice at the doorway, soft, almost amused, "My little wolf, did you miss me?" Fear burned. It scorched every nerve ending, lit every old scar I didn't remember getting, and made the air in my lungs feel like smoke. I turned, slowly, like I already knew that once I looked at him fully, there would be no going back. Dante stepped inside as if the restaurant were his living room, no gun in his hand, no visible weapon, just that suit, that watch, that quiet certainty that death would arrive if he wanted it to. He held nothing. He carried everything. Rafe shifted beside me. I felt him before I saw him. Heat, tension, rage vibrating off his body. A barely caged animal ready to launch itself at the first sign of a threat. Luca moved too, just one step forward, enough to put himself between me and the door again. He didn't raise the gun this time. He didn't need to. "Out," Luca said. Just one word. To Dante. To the storm. To the past walking in on my borrowed life. Dante's gaze didn't move from my face. "You kept her name," he said quietly. I swallowed. "Mara?" His lips curved faintly. "You chose it for yourself," he murmured. "You swore to me you'd keep it, even if you forgot everything else." Something inside my chest lurched. "No," I said. "I made that name up after I left, wherever I was. It doesn't mean anything." "Doesn't it?" he asked. Behind Luca's shoulder he looked taller than the doorway, larger than the room. Only his voice betrayed anything human. "Do you want me to tell you what it means?" he asked softly. "I don't want anything from you." "You begged me once," he said. "You asked me not to let them rename you. Do you remember that?" The photograph burned in my fingers. "Little wolf, I'm coming to bring you home." The ink, still fresh. The ring on the hand in the shadow behind me. The one I pretended I hadn't seen. My throat tightened. "I don't remember you," I whispered. "You do," he said. "Your nerves remember. Your pulse remembers. The part of you that never stopped scanning dark rooms remembers." As if to prove it, my heart slammed so hard my vision blurred for a second. Luca's jaw clenched. "Dante, you walked into my place. You spoke to my staff. You threatened my people. Now you call her yours." "She was mine before she was ever yours," Dante replied. Rafe's voice came next, ragged and rough. "She's not yours." Dante finally shifted his gaze. He looked at Rafe the way a predator looks at another animal who hasn't yet realized its prey. "You're new," Dante said. Rafe bared his teeth. "Try me." A faint smile. "Pitbull." Rafe stiffened. Dante went on, almost idly. "You've tasted leash steel your whole life, haven't you? Told yourself the man holding it was different. Better. That he earned it." Rafe's fingers twitched. "And then she looked at you," Dante said, tilting his head toward me. "And you stopped." Rafe's throat worked. "That was her. Not you." "Exactly," Dante murmured. Luca cut in. "That's enough." Dante shifted his attention back to Luca. "You felt it too." "Felt what?" Luca asked tightly. Her effect, Dante said. You didn't notice at first. You said her name, asked her to leave, and for the first time in years, someone refused you and lived. I flinched. That's not why she's important, Luca said. No, Dante agreed. That's why you're lying to yourself. He took another step forward. Luca's hand tightened into a fist. Stop right there, Luca warned. Dante did. It didn't look like obedience. It looked like patience. He slipped his hands into his pockets. Mara, he said, and the sound of my name in his mouth felt like a key sliding into a lock I hadn't wanted to acknowledge existed. Did he tell you how long you were gone? My fingers dug into the edge of the table. 3 years. And you believe him? I don't have a reason not to. You have every reason not to, Dante said calmly. You have me. I don't know you. He nodded as if that answer pleased him. Good, he said. That means we did it right. We? I echoed. He took his left hand out of his pocket. A ring glinted. The wolf. My stomach twisted. You begged me, he said quietly. On your knees, with blood under your fingernails and someone else's name in your mouth. You grabbed my wrist and said, if you love me, let me forget you. The room faded. The walls dissolved. The smell of dish soap and garlic and cheap perfume vanished. All that remained was those words. If you love me, let me forget you. Luca's voice cut through the fog. Don't listen to him. Rafe's came right after. He's manipulating you. Dante smiled. Of course I am, he said. I'm reminding her of what she chose. I didn't choose anything, I snapped, the word tearing up my throat like glass. You did. Whoever you were back then. Whatever you were, whoever we were, Dante corrected. Whatever we were. I left, I said. Yes, he murmured. And I let you. Then why are you here? My voice broke on the last word. Why now? Why drag all this back? Because someone else is looking for you, Dante said simply. Someone who didn't agree with our little arrangement. Luca stiffened. Who? Dante's gaze moved to him, cool and distant. Do you really want to know, Rossi? This is my city, Luca said. I don't allow ghosts to walk in without names. Dante's smile thinned. You do when they hold a knife at your throat. Rafe stepped forward. Name him. Dante's eyes flicked to mine, then back to Luca. To be fair, he said, you already know him. Luca's jaw tightened. If you're talking about Valente, not Valente, Dante said. He's boring, predictable, dead inside. Jonathan? Rafe demanded. Dante shook his head. No. Someone older. Someone who remembers what she did. My heart lurched. What I did? Dante's gaze pinned me. You think I turned into this alone? He asked softly. You think monsters are born finished? My answer was a whisper. I don't know what you are. You were there, he said. You held the match while I poured the gasoline. I wrapped my arms around myself. No. You stood beside me, he continued, the first time I gave an order that killed a building full of men. No. You said the words yourself. I would never. You told me, Dante said, voice low and precise, to burn it down. The restaurant spun. The floor seemed to tilt. I grabbed Luca's sleeve without thinking, clinging to something solid. Rafe stared at Dante like he'd stepped out of a nightmare he didn't remember having. You're lying, I whispered. Am I? Dante asked. He took one more step. Now I could see his eyes clearly. There was no hatred there, no gloating, just remembrance. You were the one who saw clearly, he said quietly. I wanted to scare them. You told me fear wouldn't be enough. You said that if I wanted the city, I'd have to make a point. My stomach churned. I'm not that person, I whispered. You were, he said. I'm not now. Because you begged me to carve her out of you. My vision blurred with hot, stinging tears. Numbness crept up from my fingers. So you wiped me, I said, and left me like this, half-built, half-broken. Dante shook his head. No. His voice dropped even lower. I wiped us. He lifted his hand and tapped 2 fingers against his temple. I took myself out of your mind, he said, and I cut you out of mine. Something in Luca's expression shifted. You don't remember her either? He asked. Dante smiled faintly. No, not fully. Just the shape of what's missing. Just the echoes. Just the instinct that the only time I ever did something right was when she was there to tell me it was wrong. His gaze landed on me again. And then I saw you tonight, he murmured. In this place, at his table, under his eyes. He tilted his head toward Luca. And I realized the mistake I made. Rafe scoffed. Let me guess. You think letting her go was the mistake? No, Dante said. The mistake was believing the world would leave her alone. Silence dropped between us. Who's looking for me? I asked, my voice barely a breath. Dante took a slow, measured breath. Someone who remembers your real name. My pulse stumbled. Mara is my name. Dante looked at me almost gently. No, he said. Mara is the name you chose. Before that, you had another. The photograph in my hand shook. Little Wolf, he had written. I forced the question out. What was my name? He smiled. It hurt to look at. That, he said. I won't tell you. Rafe snarled. You came here to threaten her, to unsettle us, to show off. And you're not even going to say the one thing she needs to know? Dante's eyes hardened. If I tell her, he said quietly, I take the last real choice away from her. What choice? I whispered. To remember or not. My throat burned. I thought you came here to force me to remember, I said. No, Dante answered. I came here to offer you something. I stared at him. He stepped closer. Luca moved to block him. Dante stopped just shy of touching Luca's chest. I'm not asking you, Dante said. I'm asking her. Luca's voice turned sharp as a knife. She doesn't answer to you. Not yet, Dante murmured. He looked at me over Luca's shoulder. Here is the offer, he said. I walk out of this restaurant. I do not spill blood on Rossi tiles. I do not break your boss. I do not put the Pitbull down. Rafe's fingers twitched at his sides. Luca's jaw tightened. And in return? Luca asked. Dante's answer was simple. She comes with me. Every muscle in Luca's body tensed. No, Luca snarled. Rafe growled so low it vibrated through the air. She won't, he said. You think after all this, she'll walk into your arms like a pet? Dante didn't look away from me. I don't want a pet, he said. Then what do you want? I whispered. His answer slid under my skin. I want my partner back. The word wrapped around my ribs like wire. Partner, not prisoner, not toy, not experiment. Partner. Memories flickered faster. Flash, a table covered in maps. My finger tracing red lines. His hand resting on mine, steadying. Flash. A dark hallway, doors open, doors closed. A younger version of me standing tall despite shaking knees. My voice saying, if we hesitate, they'll kill us first. Flash. Blood. Fire. Someone screaming. Someone laughing. Someone whispering into my hair. We did it. You did it. I pressed my palms to my eyes. Stop, I choked. Stop, please. Dante's voice gentled. Little Wolf. Don't call me that. It's who you were. It's not who I am now, he nodded. And that's why I'm offering you a choice. I lifted my head. A choice? Yes, Dante said. Luca spoke before I could. You are not making deals in my place. Dante didn't even glance at him. Mara chooses, he said. Not you. Rafe bristled. She doesn't know enough to choose. Then you tell her, Dante replied calmly. Both of you. Tell her what happens if she stays with you. Luca's silence was louder than Rafe's growl. I forced myself to ask. What happens? Rafe answered, blunt and brutal. He'll tear through the city to get you. Dante nodded. Yes. He'll kill anyone in his way, Rafe said. Yes, Dante agreed again. He'll burn Rossi territory, Rafe said. And yours, Dante added softly, looking at Luca. Luca's hand flexed. I whispered, Why? Because I made a deal once, Dante said. A stupid, reckless, sentimental deal. I told you I'd let you go if you forgot me. I left you to build a new life, to be human again. He smiled faintly. Then I saw him put his hands on you. He didn't have to say who. Our eyes drifted, unbidden, to Rafe. Rafe didn't hurt me, I said. Not yet, Dante murmured. But he would have. Not physically. Not intentionally. He would have let you stand in front of bullets meant for him. He would have put you in rooms with men who see everything as currency. He would have let you orbit his violence until it swallowed you. Rafe hissed. You don't know a thing about me. Dante's gaze turned sharp. You're right, he said. I don't know you. I only know what men like us do to the things we think are ours. The word ours hung in the air like a threat. Luca spoke at last. You are not taking her. Then keep her, Dante said easily, and lose half your men in the process. Maybe more. He turned to me. You can stay in this city, he said, waitressing, pretending you don't hear the screams at night when you close your eyes, pretending your missing years are a blank and not a bargain. He took a breath. Or you walk out with me tonight, and we find out why someone else is hunting you. Someone else? I echoed. Not you? I'm not hunting you, Dante said. I'm reclaiming what I gave away. The room felt too small. Luca's hand tightened on my shoulder. Rafe's shadow loomed behind me like a warning. Dante waited. Why do you care if someone else finds me? I whispered. Dante's answer was quiet, final. Because if anyone else kills you, he said, I won't be able to. Rafe snarled. You lay a hand on her. I don't want her dead, Dante said sharply. I want her awake. He stepped closer, forcing Luca to shift with him. My head spun. What if I don't want to remember? I asked. Then you'll die not knowing why everyone else did, Dante said. Silence pressed in. He extended a hand. Not toward Luca. Not toward Rafe. Toward me. I won't force you, he said. Not again. But I won't leave this city without you deciding. Luca's fingers dug into my shoulder, hard enough to bruise. You go with him, Luca said in a low, lethal tone. And you are never welcome in my territory again. Rafe stepped around Luca so I could see his face. There was fury there, and something I didn't want to name. You go with him, Rafe said hoarsely, and I'll hunt you myself. Dante smiled faintly. You can try. They closed in around me like walls, one offering oblivion, one offering punishment, one offering a past so heavy it might crush me. My own voice surprised me. I want to remember, I whispered. Everything went silent. Dante's hand didn't move. His eyes did. Softening. Darkening. Mara, Luca said. No. You don't know what you're asking for, Rafe growled. I shook my head. I don't know what any of this is, I said. And I'm tired of running from ghosts I don't understand. My chest rose and fell too fast. My vision swam. But I'm not going anywhere with anyone, I added, until I know who I was. Dante watched me like a man watching a door he had been waiting years to see open. Then say it, he murmured. Say you accept. How does it work? I whispered. I give you back what you asked me to take. How? He smiled slightly. You already know how. A ripple passed under my skin. Something old. Something familiar. Like the memory of how to breathe underwater. My lips trembled. I don't... Yes, he said softly. You do. I looked at Luca, at Rafe, at my own shaking hands. Then I stepped forward. Luca's grip slipped from my shoulder. Rafe swore under his breath. I stopped just out of Dante's reach. Show me, I said. His eyes gleamed. Careful, little wolf, he whispered. People who ask me for truth don't always survive it. I'm already surviving something, I said. I'd rather know its name. His smile turned real for the first time. Then look at me, he said. I did, and the world peeled back. Not all the way. Not yet. Just enough for one word to rise to my tongue. One word I didn't remember learning. One word that tasted like smoke and control, and nights spent giving orders over whispers. It burned behind my teeth, clawed at my throat, begged to be spoken. My heart hammered. Luca lunged forward. Mara, don't! Rafe shouted. Whatever he told you before, don't say it. But it was too late. I opened my mouth and heard myself say the word that made monsters kneel. The word that once set fire to a building. The word that, years ago, I had given to Dante as a promise. Down, I said. The floor shook. The glasses rattled. The shadows recoiled. And Rafe, the boss's Pitbull, the man no one could tame, dropped to his knees in front of me. Eyes wide, breath ripped from his chest, as if some buried part of him recognized a command older than Luca. Older than the restaurant. Older than the leash he'd worn all his life. He looked up at me with horror. What did you do to me? He whispered. My own body trembled, because I finally believed it. I wasn't just something Dante had found. I was something he'd helped create. And I'd just proven it. Rafe knelt at my feet, breath ragged, muscles locked as if invisible hands were dragging him down. The look in his eyes, fear, confusion, awe, hit me like a slap. I told you, Dante murmured behind me. Your body remembers. No, Rafe growled, shaking, trying to rise but unable to. No, this isn't... What did you do to me? He looked at Luca for help, but Luca wasn't looking at him. He was staring at me, as if the shape of who I used to be was beginning to bleed through my skin. Stand up, I whispered instinctively. Rafe gasped and jerked upright, like a puppet string had snapped. He stumbled back, horrified. That wasn't me, he whispered. That wasn't, boss, that wasn't. Luca didn't answer. He stepped forward slowly, eyes locked on mine, studying me with a new, unsettling caution. Mara, he said carefully. What exactly did Dante train you to be? I don't know, I whispered. I only said one word. And almost put my strongest man on the floor, Luca finished. Rafe paced, shaking his head violently, struggling to command his breath. No one controls me, he muttered. No one, not even Luca. Not ever. What the hell are you? I'm not, my voice cracked. I'm not anything. Dante laughed softly. That's what you begged me to make you believe. I turned on him, trembling. Stop. Stop telling me what I was. Just tell me why it matters now. Dante stepped toward me. Luca's gun lifted instantly. Don't, Luca warned. Dante ignored him. Mara, he said, the man hunting you isn't after your memories. My mouth went dry. Then what does he want? Your obedience, Dante said softly. Because you weren't only my partner. You were my equal. Equal. The word felt unreal. Wrong. Luca's jaw tightened. You expect me to believe that she ordered an entire family to surrender without lifting a gun, Dante said. They did. That's impossible, Rafe snapped. Dante tilted his head. Is it? Rafe flinched, because he knew what had just happened to him. I backed away. No, I whispered. I'm nobody. A waitress. I don't have power. You had it before anyone taught you how to use it, Dante said. That's why the families were afraid of you. Afraid of me? My voice trembled. No one even knows who I am. Exactly, Dante murmured. You disappeared. Erased. A ghost with no allegiance, no name, no past, no protection. And now the wrong person has found the trail. Luca lowered the gun just slightly. Who? Dante's eyes darkened. The man who owned the place we burned. A cold rush slid down my spine. The place you told me to burn. My ribs tightened until breathing hurt. No, I whispered. No, I wouldn't. You did, Dante said. But not out of cruelty. Out of survival. I couldn't speak. Rafe swallowed hard. So this guy, he wants revenge? No, Dante said. He wants her back. Back? Luca repeated sharply. Back from what? Dante turned his head toward me and answered, Back from me. The floor under my feet felt thin, fragile. I'm not property, I said. No, Dante said. You weren't mine in chains. You were mine in choice. I would never choose you. You did, Dante whispered. Every night, until the last one. Luca stepped between us, blocking Dante entirely from view. I'm done listening to this, Luca growled. You want her? No, she stays under my protection. Dante's smile faded. Luca. Try to take her, Luca said, and I'll shoot you in the heart. You have no idea what I am, Dante replied softly. Luca pressed the barrel to Dante's chest. Then bleed for me. The room stilled. My breath froze. Dante leaned forward until the muzzle pressed into his suit. You shoot me, Dante said, voice almost tender. And she remembers everything. Everything. The word echoed in my skull. Everything I was afraid of. Everything I escaped. Everything I once chose. Luca's finger tightened on the trigger. Rafe stepped forward, voice low. Boss, we don't know what that means. Luca didn't blink. She deserves the truth. She deserves the choice, Dante corrected. I swallowed. What choice? Dante's gaze softened. Whether you want your past back, or want to keep the lie we built. I didn't build anything with you, I whispered. You built yourself, Dante said. I only followed. No, Luca snapped. You manipulated her. You carved her into something she never wanted to be. Dante's jaw flexed. I protected her. From what? Luca demanded. From the man coming for her now. Silence. Thick. Crushing. Real. Rafe spoke first. What happens if he gets to her? Dante's answer chilled the air. She becomes who she was. And who was that? I asked, terrified of the answer. Dante stepped closer. Luca didn't stop him this time. Someone, Dante whispered, who didn't kneel to kings. Someone hunted, feared, obeyed. Someone they called Little Wolf because she walked into the dark smiling. My entire body trembled. I'm not her, I whispered. No, Dante said. You're not. Not yet. Luca grabbed my arm. "Mara," he said urgently, "listen to me. You don't owe this man anything. You don't owe your past anything." Rafe stepped to my other side. "We can keep you safe." Dante's eyes narrowed. "No," he murmured. "You can't." Luca glared. "Why not?" Dante looked at me. Only me. Because she hasn't chosen. The world felt suspended. "What do you want from me?" I whispered. Dante reached into his coat, slowly, so Luca wouldn't shoot. He pulled out a small object, a pendant, silver, worn, engraved, a wolf's head. He placed it in my palm. It burned cold. "You gave this to me," Dante said softly. "The night before you begged me to let you forget." My heart twisted painfully. Rafe muttered, "Boss, don't let her." But I was already curling my fingers around the pendant. It pulsed, like a heartbeat. Dante whispered, "Say the word again." "No," Luca growled. "Don't." Rafe stepped in front of me. "You don't know what it'll do." I looked at Dante. His eyes were endless. "Say it," he murmured. My throat tightened. My chest shook. Something deep in my bones stirred. A memory flickered. My voice in another lifetime. "Down." My lips parted. "Mara," Luca warned. "Stop," Rafe pleaded, but the truth was no longer theirs to stop. I breathed in, felt the pendant burn, and whispered, "Rise." Rafe gasped. Luca staggered. The restaurant trembled. Dante smiled, slowly, darkly, as something ancient stretched awake inside me. If you liked the story, drop a comment for part 2, and don't forget to subscribe to Mara's Betrayal.